have all the proof of Diddy's gay parties. When I tried to leak the proof, Diddy threatened to kill me. I also have videos of Diddy performing sacrifices.
World-renowned Dallas pastor T.D. Jakes is named in a federal lawsuit against musician Sean Diddy Combs.
It's filed by a producer that worked with Combs. It discusses how the singer planned to leverage his relationship with the bishop.
For Diddy, he was using T.D. Jakes to fix his image. You believe that?
Well, we saw that to be true anyway. That's what he was trying to do all that time.
If Bishop Jakes was at a Diddy party, there could only be two reasons: money or sex. That's all that happens at Diddy parties.
It's all catching hell in 2024. It's up for all of them. It don't matter if you Diddy or whoever you is. T.D. Jakes, any of them. All lies will be exposed. That's all.
Bishop Dallas T.D. Jakes is allegedly suing everyone who has attempted to expose him, and he is finally speaking out about the rumors that he was spotted at Diddy's parties. T.D. Jakes is the third individual to attempt to silence victims of Diddy's sexual abuse, following Jay-Z and Beyonce. What did T.D. Jakes do at Diddy's parties, and what is his victim allegedly saying about him?
P. Diddy leaves the Metropolitan Detention Center jail in Brooklyn. New reports say he was taken to the hospital for a few hours last week to get an MRI. We're just now learning about this, though, because Diddy was taken from the jail late at night.
The world is in absolute shock as reports emerge from inside the walls of one of America's most notorious prisons, where Sean Diddy Combs, once the face of power, fame, and luxury, has been attacked just days after his sentencing.
So apparently Diddy's knee has been bothering him recently, so he reported it. At some point, it was decided that he needed medical care outside of the jail, so he was taken to a Brooklyn hospital. He was only gone for a couple of hours and came straight back to MDC after his MRI was finished. Diddy's attorney Mark Agnifilo told TMZ, quote, "I cannot comment on anything related to prisoner movements. Also, I'm not commenting on anything related to possible medical issues." A statement from the Federal Bureau of Prisons was released too. It says, quote, "For privacy, safety, and security reasons, we do not comment on the conditions of confinement for anyone in our custody, to include medical status or medical trips." Well, the Federal Bureau of Prisons may not be able to comment on all of this, but I do know someone who can. I'm going to bring in Dr. Dwayne Hendricks, a former corrections officer and deputy warden right there at MDC. Dwayne, thanks for coming on with us once again. You're a friend of the show and give us a great interview every time. And what I wanted to ask you about today is Diddy leaving MDC to go to the hospital. Is this a big undertaking?
Not necessarily. Only in the format that it happened with him leaving later in the evening. Typically, inmates are given a physical within the first 14 days of their arrival. And if there's anything that indicates that needs immediate follow-up, the medical team there will follow up immediately. However, if there's some procedures or some sort of medical processes they need to go through that are not available at the institution, or they can't bring someone in like a specialist to come in to perform that medical process at the institution, they will schedule medical trips on a monthly basis. And there's a review team that goes over those trips every month. And but this particular process was a little bit different because, as you know, most doctors' offices and most folks that do MRIs and X-rays and things of that nature, they're on a normal work schedule, between, the normal business hours of maybe 10 o'clock and maybe 6 p.m. So in that case, this was a little bit different, getting him outside the facility in the late evening hours to do just, possibly a basic MRI.
Yeah, I was thinking about the timeline too, because I don't ever recall going to the doctor at 10 p.m. at night. As you said, it's usually 9 to 5, 10 to 6 kind of vibes. But for P. Diddy, I can kind of understand why it was at 10 p.m. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm thinking they decided to do this because he's such a high profile name that they wouldn't want to draw attention to it. I mean, this is an unassuming Thursday night around 10 p.m. Could that be why they decided then to go to the hospital?
Yes, and also, for a couple of reasons, staff, many correctional agencies are short-staffed, so when you're taking someone out with this high-profile person such as P. Diddy, I mean, just the nature of who he is going to cause a serious security concern, because you're going to need to be able to stave off, onlookers, fans, media, and the like. And then you also got to think about the security of the hospital and their operations. I mean, people there to try to get better. You have families there to visit their loved ones. And the last thing you need is somewhat, a chaotic environment that's causing concern with security. And also, just, most people don't know this, but he's actually under the primary custody. He's a what we call a U.S. Marshals inmate, because he's on pretrial status. So the Bureau, the agency, the Bureau of Prisons oversees, the operations with overseeing the inmates on a day-to-day basis. However, when they're in the hospital for an extended period of time, if there's no deal worked out between the local institution and the local marshal's office, it would be the marshal's responsibility to take custody of that particular inmate. So, but back to your original question, yes, he is definitely taken out at that time. And I'm sure this arrangement was made weeks in advance to make sure that.
I mean, if Bishop Jakes was at a Diddy party, there could only be two reasons.
Hey, Bishop Jakes, how are you?
What's up, man?
Man, it's so good to see you.
It's better to see you. How you doing?
Bishop T.D. Jakes sued fellow pastor Dwayne Youngblood for defamation on November 25th. According to Pastor Youngblood, T.D. Jakes attempted to sexually assault him when he was only 18 years old and even tried to harm him during church services. The things Youngblood was saying were horrific, and he allegedly had phone records and witnesses to support his claims. Bishop Jakes has since been mentioned by Cat Williams as a file and has been named in a lawsuit related to Diddy.
He says, come on in, let's talk. You can't even imagine being 18, 19 years of age. This person is killing it, and they're saying to you, come on in, let's talk. And so I did. I went in. We sat down at a very long dining room table in a room that she had. And for 2 hours, it was unbelievable. Pouring of heart, crying, him talking about my father. We talking about these scenarios. And I inwardly just knew I had finally found someone who could get it. Someone who understood. I'm sitting at this table, and for the first time talking to any man, I got tears coming down my face because somebody gets me. Somebody understood what I was going through. Well, after sitting there and having this long discourse with him, I finally look at my watch and I'm like, oh my goodness, I got to go. I got to get this car back to my mother. She's going to kill me. So I said to Bishop, I got to get up. And I got up from the table. He got up from the table. He walked around toward the way I had to exit quicker than I got over there. And when I started to walk past him, he pulled me to himself, wrapped his arms around me and tried to kiss me. And in that moment, I literally died. I could not. I tell you, to this day, I can't remember how I got out of that place. But I remember driving home with all kinds of crazy thoughts and what in the world am I going to do now? And I finally get home, get in the house, get in the bed. I'm going to try to go to sleep. And I get to sleep and get up in the morning. And in the morning, I step into our bathroom and my home phone rings. My mother answers the phone and she says to me, Wayne, it's Elder Jakes. And I get on that phone. And when I get on that telephone, I can hear water. He is sitting in a bathtub. And in that thing, he says to me, without any hesitation, there's 3 things I need you to do. The first one is, when I come to Pittsburgh, you're going to be the only person I sleep with. The second one is, you can't sleep with anybody else because I don't want to give my wife anything. And thirdly, I will take care of you the rest of your life. I can't to this day remember how I got off that phone, but I do know I made a decision that I wasn't going to the service that night. And eventually I told my mother, I'm not going to go to the service tonight. She says, no. You know, we got a rule in this house. If we go, you go. I never told her what he had done. I went to church, and the most humiliating thing imaginable happened that night at church. Bishop Jakes, getting up to preach, speaks into that microphone. I'm going to ask young minister Youngblood to read for me. And after all of that drama of the last 24 hours, I had to read before he preached.
In Lil Rod's lawsuit, TD Jakes was initially named as Diddy's accomplice. Lil Rod claimed that Diddy was allegedly using TD Jakes' religious influence to enhance his reputation. TD Jakes allegedly assisted Diddy in obtaining new victims and was attempting to repair Diddy's reputation by using his role as head of the Potter's house. Though he hasn't spoken out about being at Diddy's, TD Jakes has denied any wrongdoing thus far.
World-renowned Dallas pastor T.D. Jakes is named in a federal lawsuit against musician Sean Diddy Combs.
It's filed by a producer that worked with Combs. It discusses how the singer planned to leverage his relationship with the bishop to soften the impact on his public image of Casey Ventura's lawsuit. Ventura is a former girlfriend of Combs who filed her own lawsuit in November alleging abuse, violence, and sex trafficking.
Meanwhile, Combs' lawyer is criticizing the raids at two of the hip-hop mogul's homes in a federal sex trafficking investigation. He called them an unprecedented ambush. It comes as we're getting a new look inside Combs' L.A. house after the search by federal agents. Carter Evans has details about what the feds have uncovered so far.
Guns, cell phones, and other electronics are among the items taken from the homes of music mogul Sean Diddy Combs, according to a source familiar with the search warrant performed by federal agents at his properties in Los Angeles and Miami. TMZ says this video shows the aftermath of the raid inside Combs' LA mansion. Drawers empty, documents scattered, and safes opened and searched. Hours after the raid started, Combs was seen walking around the Miami Opa-locka airport, according to TMZ, which also obtained this video. Later, at the same airport, authorities arrested Combs' associate, Brendan Paul, and charged him with drug possession. In a civil suit filed against Combs by former music producer Rodney Jones, Paul was accused of being a drug and gun mule who allegedly aided Combs in sex trafficking. Yesterday, Diddy's lawyer called the law enforcement action nothing more than a witch hunt based on meritless accusations made in civil lawsuits. Could this federal investigation have come out of these private lawsuits?
Oh, absolutely. If it involves sex trafficking, or drugs, or weapons, or other illegal behavior.
Lori Levinson is a former federal prosecutor.
They've decided this is worth a lot of resources across the country. So once they've done these searches, they have evidence to follow up on. And if they've got it, they'll move on it.
We still here, you're rocking with the best.
Even though Combs has not been publicly named as a target of the investigation, he says he's now prepared to fight to clear his name.
It's interesting to note, though, that a number of witnesses say they saw TD Jakes at Diddy's all-white parties and freak-offs. One of these individuals, Gene Deal, reportedly saw TD Jakes as well and found it incomprehensible that a religious leader like him would be close to Diddy. Gene Deal had previously made references to the connection between Diddy and pastors, as well as the fact that these wolves are actually disguised as sheep.
People know how certain people act after one drink, two drinks. And if those girls was drinking out those bottles that he said Diddy laced, and he could show on camera, and he could show that some people had passed out, or some people were acting a certain way after they had those drinks, he won his case on that one.
When you was around Diddy, was he doing drugs, like party drugs, like ecstasy and stuff like that?
Diddy wasn't the dude he is today when I was around him. You understand? He had just started, when I was about to leave, he had just started with because he never smoked weed, he never smoked cigarettes, I never seen him do cocaine or none of that shit. You understand? He would have it for people to do it. You understand? is certain of his girls like to do it, and he would make sure it would be there. But he wasn't the one that did it. Diddy didn't start getting hooked on drugs until he got hooked on those painkillers. After he got hooked on those painkillers, he started drinking more because he wouldn't even drink hard liquor. He was only drinking champagne, Don P or Cristal. He was not drinking hard liquor then.
Yeah, that's real talk, man. And he also claims that, Diddy, he was using TD Jakes to fix his image. You believe that?
Well, we saw that to be true anyway. That's what he was trying to do all that time. That's why TD Jakes was there, to try to fix his image. Ain't no money like church money.
But that's always a great day for the family. Overall, though, it's not surprising. We do all know one thing. Like I said before, Puffy has strong ties with the government, with the feds. And anybody else would have been cooked, done. I mean, that's the first time in history that a person going to get sentenced and they can actually put on a campaign like they're running for the president of the United States, where they can show videos and pretty much everything. Only thing I was waiting on was the fact that I was waiting on him to bring out the DJ and start playing music and let him do what he do best, dance and shake that ass and ain't there with no time. And the other side of it is that, well, the sad side of it is that I couldn't believe that not one of his baby mothers came in to support him or testify. And I was surprised by that because that shows a lot about the character. I still think it's fair that Puffy got less time because the other people who was involved in this case, other executives, other people, they didn't get punished at all. They walked away untouched. So in society, it's a fair side and it's a bullshit side.
Despite having a billion-dollar business empire, Diddy's top priority is maintaining his public persona. He gave millions of dollars to Pastor TD Jakes' mega church, and in exchange, Jakes had to improve his reputation. TD Jakes has nearly suffered a heart attack on stage due to the stress since he was named in the lawsuit against Diddy. According to people close to him, he doesn't want anything to come out of the Diddy situation because he fears getting caught up in a legal quagmire.
So I want to get right into it, man. How you feel about these rumors surrounding, Diddy and TD Jakes?
Man, what I think about it is this, when I grew up in the church, the sinners was not supposed to have the same atmosphere with the saints. You have to be able to separate the two. So I'm looking at him as a saint going to a party that ain't nothing but sin, drinking, maybe fornication, man on man, woman on woman, he on she. But maybe he there to lay some hands on somebody. Maybe he there to save some souls. I know he got a contract with Revolt, so I'm just like, it's just real strange that he would be found at any kind of Diddy party or any kind of place with Diddy unless it's in a business atmosphere. So now what he's doing is he's making, man, he making the Christians look real bad right about now.
And you've been to these parties, right?
Oh yeah, I was there when he was doing the white parties in the Hamptons and the whole 9 yards. So I know what goes on at the parties. If, they probably got a little bit more freakier, as time went on, because they got to the point whereas that they didn't even care. It used to be secretly, where people used to go to, separate rooms and different rooms, and they wasn't doing that out in the public, you know. So, but now they don't care. Men kissing men and all this other shit. That's just crazy.
So why do you think he was going to these parties?
I think that he's going to the Diddy parties, you know. Bruh. If he's going, well, we know he's going to the Diddy parties, and I know that it's, I know what usually happens at the Diddy party, or what we told this happened at the Diddy parties. Maybe he need to see it for himself, man. Maybe he need to go there and really be involved in some things that could help save some individuals while they going to those parties. Or maybe he just going to, man, it's hard to even talk about. Why would you find a religious man, you know, when you know that the saints supposed to separate themselves from the sinners? And why would a religious man like himself be at a party which ain't nothing but sin that's going on, bro? Whether it's drinking, maybe fornicating, maybe, like I said, men on men, women on women. It's hard to put in perspective unless he's involving himself what is actually going on at the parties. It's hard, brother. Bro, you know, you can't, I really don't know why, as a spiritual advisor to him, that they buddy while he got a party with him like that and be at his parties. It's got to be, maybe it's something more that meets the eye.
There have been claims that the tapes gathered from the raids on Diddy's Miami mansion featured a pastor. The identity of the pastor has not been confirmed by the federal government, but if Gene Deal and the victims are to be believed, it is T.D. Jakes. T.D. Jakes is primarily concerned about these tapes because he is aware that if they are made public, his career will be ruined and he may even face jail time.
None of the people who are his celebrity friends is going to speak or say nothing until they're either contacted or they know what they really got.
So you feel like they might be worried that they might be on tape at one of Diddy parties doing something they wasn't supposed to be doing?
I think that the celebrities that may be worried is because what Lil Rob said. Lil Rob said in his affidavit that Diddy had every room taped and bugged. Diddy had, yo, bro, can you imagine? He had every room taped and bugged, and they found little bugs or little tape recorders. I mean, little those micro projectors or whatever like that, or video cameras. They found them in the house, bro. So by them having those things in the house, and people know there's drugs, there's alcohol, there's loose women, there's loose men, woman on woman, man on man, all kind of crazy shit. Bruh, they just wondering who or when they're gonna let this stuff be known, if it's on videotape.
Similar allegations have been made by a number of attorneys who claim that Diddy and those close to him were abusing children for reasons other than sexual lust. They asserted that power over the victims was more important to these abusers. The same story is told by T.D. Jakes' alleged victim, who claims that Jakes made him feel helpless and used in front of the congregation, and even called him to tell him that he now owned him.
His business is the enterprise, and the people that worked for him were part of the conspiracy. So maybe they're unindicted co-conspirators and they got immunity because, like Michael said, on my indictment, it said the United States of America versus, and then there was 8 names. And we all conspired to commit crimes. Diddy's alone. Who did he conspire with? Did he conspire by himself? Did he extort people? Yes, he did. Did he kidnap people? He held them against his will? Yes, he did. He brought people across state lines, which is a federal offense. But to be a RICO just on him, it's hard for me to understand how that happens.
Yeah, and I do think that, I mean, listen, we got weeks and weeks left of just the prosecutor's case, but already we've seen one of the assistants who said he got immunity. And my feeling is that his second in command, Christina Coram, either she's going to plead the fifth or she's going to have been offered immunity or use immunity for her testimony. I do think you're right. It's kind of confusing without the conspirators, but my feeling is that right now, to get the testimony against the guy at the top, they may be offering them immunity. But like I said, we still have to find that out.
Speaking out about Diddy's RICO charges, Mytale said that it's likely that all the other participants in Diddy's party were given immunity in exchange for their cooperation. Diddy's second in command, Christina Coram, was directly responsible for sourcing the women that Diddy was using, but she didn't get charged. It has also been confirmed that at least 3 of the witnesses in Diddy's trial were given immunity.
But they didn't beat up and kill girls all the time. Do you see a big difference here with the kind of behavior Diddy's accused of doing compared to the behavior of mobsters?
Oh, absolutely. Let me say this. I always take the position, someone's innocent until proven guilty. That's just my position all the time. However, we have seen certain things. I think everybody has seen the hotel video where he was obviously beating her up. And the testimony has been absolutely despicable. And nobody in my former life would ever approve of something like that. And I think Anthony will vouch for that. We didn't beat up women. We didn't do things like that. We were taught to respect women in a big way, especially our families. So, in our life, if you violated another made man's wife, daughter, sister, mother, you're in a lot of trouble. So we didn't stand for that in any way, shape, or form. And like I said, the acts that are being described here are disgusting, despicable. If somebody like that was in our former life, he wouldn't last, quite honestly. And again, I would love to hear, I believe that the defense is going to attack the RICO statute here. You said, possibly there are witnesses that have been given immunity. Not possibly, 100%. I mean, that's how government builds cases. They go after people, they get them to cooperate, and they give them immunity. So like Anthony said, there's probably several unindicted co-conspirators here that all decided, hey, we're not going to take the fall, we're going to cooperate. We're going to testify, and that's why they weren't indicted. So I would believe that what Anthony said, that, they're going to use the theory that you said, that the whole, Bad Boy Records was a criminal enterprise. He was at the top of it. He used these other people to implement his criminal schemes, and that's how they charged him with RICO. But these acts are just, the real question is, how did this go on for 20 years? 20 years this was going on. A guy as high profile as that, and I've said this before, and nobody gets charged for it. It's allowed to continue for 20 years. There's no question that people knew that this was going on. There were high profile people involved. How does something like this go on for 20 years?
In reality, TD Jakes might just be another pawn in Diddy's scheme. Diddy would bring well-known people and influential people to his parties, give them drugs, and then film them in awkward poses. He would exploit them and use the footage as blackmail once he obtained it. The dirt Diddy had on him may have been the reason Diddy was able to control TD Jakes in this way.
Anybody came out defending Diddy. All these celebrity friends he have, and nobody came out.
They brand. It's all about the money. They saw what he did to Cassie. With the kicking, the punching. They saw what they did to Cassie. They know that nobody in America liked that. So now, these people are represented by a brand. Whether it's something about the music, clothing, movies. They're not gonna come out and speak on nothing that has anything to do with them. And they praying that they not on the tape doing crazy stuff, being oiled up in the whole 9 yards. They praying. So until the feds say, hey, yo, listen here. We got you on, hey buddy, we got you on this tape, and girl looked like she was pretty young. We're not gonna show it, but we need you to come and testify against Brother Love, P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, Sean Combs. That's when they're gonna start talking. And they're not gonna be talking in his favor. When the feds come to them and show them what they got on tape, because if he had 250 tapes all over, 250 cameras all over the house, somebody got caught stealing a cookie out the cookie jar. It could be your favorite pastor. It could be your favorite politician. But they didn't think they was being watched. And Brother Love was watching.
Yeah, I mean, TD Jakes, he haven't even came out and said anything. And him and Diddy was real cool.
Amen. Amen. Yeah, man. And I know the people in the congregation over there is shaking in their boots because this man didn't led them probably allegedly probably led them to damnation, because those people's hearts are going to be broken if that man is seen on those tapes doing anything. Because people always put their faith in the pastor instead of putting their faith in God. And what they need to do is understand that he's just a man. And he has a history. It's not looking too good for him.
So you feel like celebs are worried that they might be on tape?
Oh, they know. That's why they ain't speaking up or saying nothing. Yeah, I was at a Diddy party, but I know I ain't do nothing. When you don't know somebody's taping you, when you don't know that somebody is videoing you in some kind of form or fashion, you got that alcohol, you got the drugs in you, they're a little loose, bruh. They let down all their inhibitions. The music is pumping. He said it himself. He got it so hot in there that you gotta take your clothes off. He said that himself, bruh.
The accusations made against Bishop T.D. Jakes are not only complicated, but also shocking. They include claims of manipulation, corruption, and abuse. The distinction between fact and conjecture gets increasingly hazy as the lawsuits progress and new information becomes available. The world is in complete shock after hearing that Sean Diddy Combs, who was once the epitome of wealth, fame, and power, was attacked a few days after being sentenced inside one of America's most infamous prisons.
Technician or that clinician was going to be available to take a look at whatever issues that he may be experiencing right now. So that way, there's not a whole lot of onlookers. And then even with staff and other inmates, it gives them not an opportunity to make a call, to their family. Hey, I think, Diddy's going out to the hospital right now. If anybody wants to take a look at him, head out there. And then I think the other thing, Sierra, is since there are no cameras in the courthouse throughout this process, we've only been getting the sketch artist views of their perspective of what he looks like. And I think people have been talking about him losing weight and different things of that nature. So I know folks will probably want to be able to get a photo of him to see what he actually looks like. And and if he does have issues with his legs, is he walking with a limp? Does he have does he have a cane or anything like that? So yeah, I think that will be the reason why that they would make this, take this measure, which I have never seen in my career. Someone taken out to the hospital at this time of night for something as basic as an MRI.
Oh, that's interesting that this is the first time you've ever seen anything like this, because there have been high-profile inmates at MDC in the past, maybe not to the level of P. Diddy. You had a lot of answers in that one answer, so many different roads I could go down. And I agree with you 100%. People would want that photo. We would be talking about that photo today if for some reason we got it. So that's a super valid point. I wanted to go back to the very beginning, though, because How does all of this start? Does P. Diddy go to one of the corrections officers and say, hey, my knee's really bothering me, I'm not feeling well? Would he go to an infirmary on site? What would the early process look like?
So again, after that initial review of his current medical situation during his physical, and then there's follow up to that process if there's something found, immediately. But you have to understand, daily there are medical staff walking through the units, doing what we call sit call and asking inmates, are they okay? And then you have folks that are walking around passing out meds and different things of that nature. And then he can also reach out to the medical team by what we call an inmate to staff correspondence form, whether electronically or in writing. And he can say, hey, I've had chronic issues with my knee for several years. And I'm saying there's reports that after he ran the New York City Marathon in 2003, that he had some ongoing issues with one of his knees. So that's how that initial process would start. And then and if it's nothing like emergent, because again, if his knee was bothering him to the point where he fell out or something like that in the evening, then obviously they would take him to the hospital right away. It wouldn't be a thing where they would schedule that out. But in terms of something that basic, that would have to be looked at well in advance, and then they would make that appointment and then reach out to the hospital staff and say, hey, can you get someone that can, one, keep their mouth shut, that's going to be on schedule to work overtime or switch their schedule to do this particular procedure? Can they keep their mouth shut and not expose that, hey, we're going to bring him out into the community for a couple of hours to do this process? So there had to be some high level planning, not just at the local institution and the local hospital, but obviously probably at the regional office level and maybe even at the DOJ level, saying that, hey, this individual is going to be going out for a short period of time to make sure that they're taking care of these issues that he may or may not be having with his knee.
Yeah, the planning into all of this, based on what you're saying, does sound like it.
The man who once dominated the charts, attracted millions of fans, and lived his life surrounded by cameras, security, and admiration, is now confronted with the harsh, unvarnished reality of prison life, which is very different from the world he came from. Chaos broke out behind bars, according to witnesses, and Diddy was seen crying for the first time in his life. According to those with knowledge of the situation, it occurred abruptly. No signs or warnings were present, and there was no time to respond. Diddy was attempting to get used to the grim routine of prison life when violence erupted all around him. Tension and the kind of danger that never sleeps in a place where survival depends on power were pervasive in the air. This time, his notoriety did not shield him from being cornered, overpowered, and hit. The entertainment industry titan, who once built empires, now finds it difficult to make ends meet. According to reports, Diddy was deeply shaken by the attack. This was something that he could not control, as someone who had spent his entire life in control. Controlling rooms, controlling people, controlling the spotlight. Shouts reverberated off the concrete walls as the guards hurried in, causing chaos in the hallways.
It's a jail. People in that jail are being held, they're presumed innocent, and there's responsibility, since the person's not free to do what they want, to protect them and to make sure that they're mentally stable and that they're protected.
When I heard Suicide Watch, my mind went to Rex Heuermann, who's the alleged Go-Go Beach killer. Obviously, he is still presumed innocent at this time, but I do recall after he was arrested, he was placed on Suicide Watch. And I'm wondering if that's just kind of another thing, because it was a big case, a big name, that he was not suicidal at the time, and it's possible now that P. Diddy isn't suicidal.
That's something that's very difficult to really answer, because we're not doing the interviews of the inmate. The inmate gets an evaluation when they come in. They get checked for their health, their physical health, as well as their mental health. And that's where those sort of decisions are made. It's not just sort of something because it's P. Diddy, we're putting him in. They have to have some sort of facts to substantiate that.
Let's say moving forward that they determine, okay, he's fine, he is not a risk for suicide, he's good to go. Do you think that P. Diddy could ever be placed in general population? Obviously, he's someone that a lot of people know. First of all, high profile, but then also he's got some pretty severe allegations that he's up against. Would he be safe in Gen Pop?
That's a very difficult question. I think because of his if I was his attorney, I would want to make sure that he was being kept in a place where he's safe and not be used as some sort of way that some inmate may want to just move their street credibility, for lack of a better term, by just saying, yeah, I went after P. Diddy because, he wasn't supposed to be doing those things and all that. So it's a very difficult situation when someone that famous and well known in this kind of case is put into general population. So it's going to be a major concern for the institution that is holding them.
Now, let's take a look back at the timeline leading up to Diddy's arrest and the allegations that led to Diddy's indictment. Shocking federal charges brought against once beloved music icon Sean P. Diddy Combs now could be his complete fall from grace.
I mean, it was only a year ago that he got the key to the city here in New York. And now here he is indicted in the Southern District, right? So what happened in a year for someone to have fallen so far?
But what led up to these serious federal charges? We're talking to criminal defense attorney Adam Conta to break down the timeline leading up to Diddy's arrest. I'm Sierra Gillespie, and this is Law and Crime News. Now, starting off from where we're at right now, Diddy faces 3 federal charges of racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, and transportation to engage in prostitution. So how did we get here? We have to head back to the 1990s, when Diddy first rose to fame after creating the record label Bad Boy Records that represented artists like the Notorious B.I.G. or Biggie Smalls. It was during this time frame that Diddy allegedly sexually assaulted multiple women in New York. We first learned about these allegations in November of last year, when Joy Dickerson-Neal and Liza Gardner filed separate civil suits against Diddy. Gardner says her assault happened back in 1990 when she met Diddy at a work event. She alleges he raped her and later choked her to the point that she passed out. The next year, in 1991, Joy Dickerson-Neal says Diddy raped her while she was a student at Syracuse University. She says Diddy even recorded this alleged sexual assault and passed the tape around to other people. So these things allegedly happened in the early 90s, but they're not made public then. As the years pass by, Diddy's career just keeps on gaining steam. By the late 90s, Diddy himself begins putting out songs, even snagging his first 2 Grammys in 1998. But the following year marks the next stop.
Diddy clutched himself as he was led away, his face displaying a mix of pain, shock, and fear. Those who witnessed it claimed that the expression in his eyes conveyed the entire message. This was not the Diddy that the world was familiar with. Raw fear and desperation had taken the place of the confidence, ego, and image. The entertainment industry is currently in shock as word of the attack spreads. How did this happen? How did one of hip-hop's most prominent, well-known, and successful artists find himself in such a hazardous and dehumanizing situation? The fall from grace has been swift, brutal, and widely reported. Behind bars, the man who once represented achievement and power is now reduced to tears. A more tragic picture is painted with each new headline and leak from inside the prison. Diddy is having a hard time adjusting to his new life, according to people close to his legal team. The atmosphere in prison is completely different from what he is accustomed to. It is harsh, frigid, and subject to laws that he cannot break. His wealth is irrelevant.
I have you. I only have a little bit of time left. I got to switch gears real quick to Diddy. So he is asked to be sent to a low security prison out in New Jersey for where he will serve his, prison term. 4 years, served already 1, so 3, maybe out in 2.5. Do you think he's going to get that request? Do you think he's going to serve it at this low security prison in New Jersey?
It seems like the logical place for him to go. I mean, you've got, based on all of the factors and everything else that goes into the Bureau of Prisons, when they get the file, so to speak, they get the PSR, which is the pre-sentence report. They have a certain criteria, and a lot of that criteria has to do with geographic location and then the severity of the sentence and the charges. All of that would tend to lean towards the placement at this New Jersey facility. So I would say on a bell curve, 80% shot.
And chances he has a successful appeal, either a new trial or the sentence being adjusted?
I've had this argument with his team and people not on the team, and I don't want to reveal the work product, but I will tell you my reaction to this sentence was that because the judge accepted the sentencing guidelines and then went under it, and he accepted the sentencing guidelines that probation said, which was 70 to 87, I think, but went underneath at 50, it makes the appeal on the sentence tougher. I still think there's a whale of an argument on the Mann Act itself as applied, that the idea of having a prostitute cross state lines in order to film them and not have, I don't think by any stretch of the imagination that's what the code section was designed to prevent.
His notoriety is irrelevant. His once boundless influence is now worthless. He is just another prisoner inside those walls, and the realization is crushing him. He is reportedly lonely, afraid, and always watching over his shoulder. His attorneys are allegedly drafting an urgent appeal in response to this most recent attack, claiming that his safety is in jeopardy, that he is incapable of surviving in the general population, and that he needs to be released or transferred. However, the system is not easily swayed. It is unlikely that the same judge who sentenced him will now sympathize. Inside, the rules are different, even though the outside world may still be buzzing with every update. Diddy is publicly and painfully realizing that no amount of authority can shield him from the fallout from his deeds. According to some reports, the vicious attack might have been intended as a reminder that everyone is equal in prison and that notoriety is meaningless. Supporters are divided. Some are appalled and claim that no one should be treated this way, regardless of their background.